Hello guys, welcome to episode 7 of this series. In this episode I am going to show you how to add the edit and delete functionalities to authors and books. So let's get started. What we are going to do is to allow the user of our application to delete authors and of course their books. So like a cascade delete, whenever you delete one author, all the books of that author will be deleted as well because there is a relationship like a parent-child relationship between authors and books. We're going to allow users to only delete books individually as well without deleting one author completely. And then we are going to enable inline editing for authors and books. So let's first talk about deleting authors and doing a cascade delete to delete all of the books associated with that author as well. When we delete an author, we should also remove all the books linked to that author's ID. So this is the author list component that we developed before, right? Right now, we are going to add this handle delete author as well. And this function is going to take in the ID of that author. So we need to delete the authors, as you can see here. And for each book that author has wrote, we need to delete those books as well. So we're going to use not only set authors but also set books. Using set authors coming from the author context, we will delete that author based on the ID that we have received. And for the set books coming from the book context, again we are going to remove the books whose author ID equals or matches the ID that we have received inside of the handle delete author. And this is the handle delete functionality for each row, for each list item inside of the author's array coming from the author context. Let's render this book, and the on-click event on that book is bound to handle delete author, as you can see here, handle delete author. And we are passing the ID of that author to this function. And this is the update that we need to make to the author list. If I take you here, so let me first do something. Let me create one new branch. I'm going to call it episode 6. This is for the previous episode. Let me put this message here. Episode 6, and now I am going to create a branch for episode 7. I need to add the commit message for episode 5 as well. No worries, right now we're on episode 7. Now let me go to author list. The author list right now, it is only listing the authors. It doesn't give us the it doesn't allow us to delete authors. But if I remove this, I can write the code to first import the hook, use books and use authors, and then render each author. And for each author, I'm gonna render that button. First, let me use those two custom hooks, create this button for handling the delete, deleting the author itself and deleting all the books associated to that author. Now the form, the list. So let's map through the author's array and render the author name and the button, calling the handle delete author, passing in the ID of that author, and then we're done. So here, exporting the author list. If I refresh this, I don't even have to refresh this. I refreshed it, I lost my own name. Anyways, we are going to save the changes to local storage, I think during the next episode or the episode after that. So right now, if I delete this, right, I will delete the Jane Austen as well as the books associated with that author. So it's like a cascade delete thing, right? Now let's continue. First, the next thing that we need to implement is to allow the user to delete books individually. So inside of the book books by author, I mean, if you take a look here, this is the books by author component. We are rendering each book here for that author. So we will like to be able to delete the books individually without deleting the parent, entity. This is again very simple. We're gonna create this function inside of the books by author component that you're already familiar with. It is called handle delete book, as you can see here. And then what we are going to do for each book, take a look here. For each book, we're gonna render this button. So this is a delete button. It's gonna call this handle delete book, and it's gonna pass in the ID of that book. And this function, compared to the function inside of the author list component, is gonna only delete books from the book context. It doesn't delete the authors, it only deletes the books individually. So this is the next update that I would like to do. So let me go to books by authors. Let me remove this and let me write the new version of this code. I'm going to import the hooks, use authors and use books. The component needs the authors array and the books as well as set books, because we want to delete books. Handle delete book is going to take in the ID of the book and use set books coming from the book context to delete that book. And then for the template, let's get the books associated with that author, and let's return the author itself. And then if there are books associated with that author, let's map through them and let's render them one by one, and then delete button, which will call the handle delete book function, passing the ID of that book, and then we're done. Otherwise, yes, just print this p tag saying no books yet for this author. So we're done. Now, inside of our application, not only we can delete one author completely with all the books of that author, but we also have the ability to delete one book individually. So if, for example, I come here and say some other book for George Orwell, I can delete this and I can keep this, right? Some other book, again for George Orwell. Now I can delete this author with the two books associated with him, like this. So deleting the authors completely, deleting books one by one. The next step is to add inline editing for authors. So we want to have like an edit button here, and for each author, we want to be able to, for example, change the name of that author. So we can implement a toggle input for editing. Inside the map in author list, this is the author list component. We have to do two things. Inside of the author list, this is the author list. We have to do two things. First, we need to import use state. Then we need to have a state for tracking the, editing state, whether we are editing or not. And then we are going to create another state for, adding, for setting a new name. Then we will create this function. So this is the handle edit save. So basically what we are doing is that based on the ID of the author that we are receiving, we're checking the author's array inside of the context. And if I find an author whose ID matches the ID we have received here, I'm going to replace that author with the author that I have inside of this state, right? I mean, I'm going to update the name of that author. Otherwise, I'm not going to do anything. And then I am going to reset the set is editing state, which is tracking our state, whether we are in the middle of editing or not. And then we are resetting the author, let's say, name, the new name of that author. So here we need to, write that code. Of course, the state needs to go above the author list component. Handle edit save, receiving the ID. And then if there is an author inside of the authors with that ID, replace it. Otherwise, don't do that. This is it. Now, I'm going to remove this and of course I need to import useState from React. This is it. So now we're done with this, but of course we need to render another input here for each author name, so that the user can enter the editing state. So this is it. This is the thing that we need to do for the map here. So take a look here. This is the UL that is printing the names of the authors, and for each author it is printing the button for deleting that author. Now we are going to check the state. If we are inside of the isEditing state, right, we are going to render an input and allow the user, using two-way data binding, to set a new name for that author, and then we're going to render a button for saving the changes. Otherwise, we are going to take the other route. We are going to show the name of the author. We're going to show a button, right? And that button, when clicked, is going to set the isEditing to the ID of the author. This is showing that we are in the middle of editing this author, and it's going to set the name for that author. And then there is this edit button, right? And the delete button. So let's write this, right? Let's go to the this code, and for each author, right, we don't want to render the li anymore. We need to do this. For each li, we need to check whether we are editing or not. If we're not editing, just render the two buttons, delete and edit. This is the delete button. Okay then. So we're done with the changes, right? There was just one simple typo that I had to fix. The casing of this isEditing. So we're done now. So right now we have the ability to edit this online. For example, changing the name to my own name and saving, right? And we have the ability to delete this. And of course, when I restart the application, when I refresh the page, everything is being restored based on the data I have defined in the context. And of course, as before, deleting books individually, deleting the whole author, and also editing the author inline, and then saving. So this is it. This is the third change we made. Now let's continue talking about, we're done. This is the last change we had to make for this episode. We're evolving the application one step at a time, but we're not done yet. For example, when I refresh the page, my changes are lost. So what I would like to do is to save the changes to, for example, local storage, which is something that we will implement shortly. And that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed watching it as before, please give it a thumbs up and stay tuned for the next one.